So today we have a marathon training shoe rotation update, a pair of shoes that I bought again, and a bit of a discussion around practicing in race day shoes. So let's kickstart with the marathon training shoe rotation update. On the 23rd of July, I published my predicted marathon training shoe rotation and then said I would drop in halfway to let you know how we were getting on, if there are any additions or any that have fallen by the wayside. So that's exactly what we're going to kickstart with. Let's dive in. Now in that video, I discussed the three core shoes that I would use, which is the Hoka Max 6, the Brooks Hyperion Max 2 and the Adidas Adios Pro 3, and a couple of shoes that I would be dropping in as kind of reserves and maybe ones that I just wanted to swap in, which were the Adidas SL2 and the Saucony Kinvara 14. Now I knew the Kinvara wouldn't last long and it didn't, that's out of the picture now, but of course we have bought in the Asics Noosa Tri 16. So where have I been using all of these shoes? Well, the Hoka Max 6 has been used for the bulk of the miles, to be honest with you. Anything easy, the Max 6 has swallowed up. We're nearly at 300 miles in that shoe and I'm excited to give you an update when that one comes around. The Brooks Hyperion Max 2, interestingly, hasn't been used as much as I thought it would. I haven't taken it on any of the marathon pace work that I've been doing. I found it to be a brilliant long run cruiser, and it has taken every single week, bar this week actually, the medium long run, which I've been doing at a steady pace. I find that to be that shoe's sweet spot, and that is so close to 100 miles. But I swapped it in this week with the Asics Noosa Tri 16. The Adidas Adios Pro 3 has been absolutely phenomenal, and that has done more work than I anticipated that it would. And I've got to be really careful because I do wonder if that one will come to the end of its life at some stage. I'm going to try and eke it out right to the end of the block. However, that one is well over 300 miles now. I think it's over 350 actually, and it's going to be closing in on the 400 mile mark very, very soon. That one has taken pretty much all of the workouts and pretty much all of the long runs as well. It's done a lot of the work, I'd say the most miles in this marathon training block. The Adidas SL2 has dropped in here and there for the odd easy run, but mainly, as I said, the Max 6 has taken all of those. So it has been used, but very, very sparingly. As I said, the Kinvara is out of the picture, but the Noosa Tri has come in, and that has really, really blown my mind with how good it is. Now, a couple of you did notice, and I have said it on a couple of videos, it is a very much a neutral shoe. I do pronate in it a little bit more than what I do in other shoes. So I am aware of that, and I'm just making sure that I look after my calves and lower leg after I've run in that shoe, because it does get a little bit tight. But overall, I've got to say, it is an absolute gem of a running shoe. Could be one of the best this year, and I highly recommend it. If you're a little bit disappointed with the Brooks Hyperion Max 2 from the update from the one, the Noosa Tri is worth looking at. And for that shoe, I've been doing a lot of moderate runs in that shoe. I've done the odd easy run, but it has dropped in to fill the void. I've done a workout in it as well. It's been absolutely phenomenal. It's not been used every single week because I really am set on the rotation that I have, which is the Max 6, the Pro 3 and the Hyperion Max 2. But I am starting to filter that one in more. That one's now got over 50 miles. And again, that one won't be long before we get to 100 miles in it. So will that be it? I guess the question is, will I add any more in the second half of this marathon training block? 6 weeks to go, and I think the answer, of course, is going to be yes. I won those up and running vouchers from winning the Cheltenham 10K, which I'm delighted about, which means obviously the pair of shoes that I was going to buy in September, I can now use those vouchers for, which is amazing. And I'm looking at a pair of shoes. I've got 3 shortlisted that are going to work well into my rotation, that can take over some of the miles, and then also looking forward to the speed block after the marathon training, what shoes might work well flowing into that one as well. So I'll be talking a little bit more about that in the future. I'll hopefully be grabbing those over the next week or so. Now, in terms of the shoe that I have bought myself, again, I'm delighted with this and got an absolute bargain. I was umming and ahhing about the race shoe. Obviously, you guys saw maybe the videos last week where I was testing out the Alpha Fly 3, and then I couldn't bring myself to racing it in the Cheltenham 10K. I couldn't shake it in my head that it was just a little bit too bulky. I wanted something that disappeared off my feet, and of course I went straight back to the Next Percent 2s. Now the Next Percents, the Vaporflies, have been an absolute staple in my running shoe rotation, and when it comes to marathons, I have to say I've run my 3 best and quickest, I should say, marathons in either the Vaporfly version 1 or version 2. So for me, it was a no-brainer to run the next marathon in that shoe. I was deciding between that and the Saucony Endorphin Elites, and I have to say, hands up, the Endorphin Elites are my #1 racing shoe of all time. I absolutely love them, but I feel like I want to get back into something that I know well, that I feel comfortable racing in. And considering I found a pair of Next Percent 2s on Sport Pursuit website in my size for £119, I decided to pull the trigger on those and get a second pair. So for a super shoe that I know is about 3 years old but used to cost around £220, £230, it is an absolute bargain, and I feel delighted that I'm able to get those into the rotation. It means that my lucky pair of the ones that I'm currently using right now can continue to be used. Probably got another race or 2 in them, but I can obviously then migrate them into training and practice in those shoes. Before the race day, I will get a couple of runs in the fresh pair of shoes just to break them in, because I do find with the Next Percents their arch support is quite high, but then they flatten out after 2 or 3 runs in them. So I'll get that done. I'll get those flattened down a little bit and ready to race. So then that leads me on nicely to practicing in race day shoes. This is something I did a lot of in the Newport Marathon training block, but it's something I didn't do a lot of in the London Marathon training block. And I feel like I'm trying to go back to what worked really well for me during Newport. And I can confirm I had a really good marathon training workout last night at the point of recording this. And obviously you guys will see that on the weekend. And I think what it did for me, the Next Percents, first of all, I have to be wary of my calves. They do aggravate my calves. I will not use them more than once a week. And to be honest with you, there'll be some weeks where I don't use them, but there will be some key workouts that I will be using them in, and it just builds a bit of confidence and of course gets my body used to running in them for a longer period of time. It's not something I did during the London Marathon training block because I was really conserving my Saucony Endorphin Elites, and of course I didn't have a second pair. I'd raced in them. I got a substantial amount of miles in them leading up to London, and so I didn't want to put a ton more in them and get to London and have well over 100 miles in them. I wanted them to be as fresh as possible. But the beauty now is, having spent £120 on this new pair, it means that my lucky pair and of course the baby blues can be used in training, and I'm absolutely delighted. As I said, it means that I can start practicing, get that feel good factor back, and of course get the body used to it. And off the back of that as well, just a slight spin-off, I will be looking for another pair of Adios Pro 3s. I will also be looking for another pair of Endorphin Elites later in the year, neither of which are particularly on any good discounts right now. But both of those, of course, have been, well, first of all, the Elites have been my best racing shoe ever. I just begrudge looking at the price of them right now and spending it when I know the 2s have already been released in a small quantity and they'll be out later this year. And the changes in that midsole look to be a little bit scary. I prefer a firmer midsole. The Elites tick that box. The version 2 looks to be the complete opposite. So I do aim to pick up another pair of those. I'm sure it'll be in and around Christmas time. And then of course the Pro 3s, I believe, I've done a bit of searching around. I think the Adios Pro 4s get released at the end of this month or later this year. World Athletics have it registered to be launching, I think it was September 26th or 27th. So what I'm hoping off the back of that means that the 3s will go back on discount. A few months ago, they were everywhere for 140, 150 pounds. Now they're right back up to full price, and it's very hard to find them on discount. Fingers crossed, with the amount I've used them in training this time and found them to be so good, it's well worth me going to be investing in a second pair of those. So there we go, a bit shorter and a bit sweeter of an update today for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. It was just kind of a case of going through what I've got with my marathon training. I get questions on it all the time with shoes and what I'm using for certain workouts and things like that. So I hope that just clears everything up. And then of course, as I said, going into the second half, keep an eye out for a new edition coming later this month. And of course, if you are getting ready for your autumn marathon, don't forget, if you have the opportunity, do practice in those race day shoes. Do get a couple of long runs in them or a couple of longer workouts. Get the body ready, get them used to it. And yeah, fingers crossed it will serve you well come race day. If you guys have any questions, please do feel free to drop them in the comments below. It'd be great to hear from you down there. And that's it from me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do consider giving it a like, share it with your friends, and of course subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and I'll see you on the next one.